Section 7.2, Multiplication of Monomials. We're going to multiply. Example 1, x to the third times x to the fifth. That's x times 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 x, which is x to the eighth. There are 8 x's there that are being multiplied together, x to the eighth. The base of the exponents are the same. We have x to the third and x to the fifth. The bases are the same, so we add the exponents. Example 2, 3x squared times 6x to the third. 3 times 6 is 18, and then we have x squared times x to the third. Those bases are the same, so we add the exponents. 18x to the fifth. Example 3, 6x to the fourth y times 4y to the sixth. 6 times 4 is 24, so we have x to the fourth times y to the sixth. That's y to the first times y to the sixth, so it's y to the seventh. 24, x to the fourth, y to the seventh. Example 4, negative 3xy squared times negative 4x squared y to the third. It's negative 3 times negative 4 times x squared times y to the second times y to the third. That's 12x to the third, y to the fifth. Example 5, 7x to the sixth, y to the sixth times negative 5x squared y to the ninth. 7 times negative 5 times x to the sixth times x squared times y to the sixth times y to the ninth. It's negative 35 x to the eighth, y to the 15th. Example 6, x to the third to the fifth power. That's x to the third times 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 x to the third. And there they are, the first 3, the second 3, third 3, fourth 3, and fifth 3. X to the 15th. A power is being raised to a power. X to the m to the nth power is x to the m times n. Multiply the exponents. The n is outside the parentheses. It is being raised to the nth power, so we multiply the exponents. X squared y to the third to the fourth power. I wrote it out 4 times. X squared y to the third times x squared y to the third times x squared y to the third times x squared y to the third. X to the eighth, y to the 12th. You can see it's the 2 times 4 and it's the 3 times 4. X to the m times y to the n to the p power equals x to the m times p, y to the n times p. The exponent outside the parentheses multiplies to each exponent inside the parentheses. X to the fourth y to the third squared is x to the fourth y to the third times x to the fourth y to the third, which is x to the eighth y to the sixth. Example 9, x to the fifth y squared to the fourth power. X to the fifth y squared times x to the fifth y squared times x to the fifth y squared times x to the 5th, y squared. X to the 20th, y to the 8th. Example 10, 3x times 2x squared y to the 3rd power. That exponent of 3 goes to everything inside the parentheses. So it's 3 times 2 to the 3rd times x from the first parentheses times x to 2 times 3 times y to the 1st times 3. 2 to the 3rd is 8. 8 times 3 is 24. X times x to the 6th times y to the 3rd. 24, x to the 7th, y to the 3rd. Example 11, 4x squared y to the 3rd times negative 2x y to the 4th to the 3rd power. Be careful with negative signs and the parentheses. 4x squared y to the 3rd. It's negative 2 to the 3rd, x to the 3rd, y to the 12th. Negative 2 to the 3rd is negative 8, so 4 times negative 8 times x squared times x to the 3rd times y to the 3rd times y to the 12th. Negative 32, x to the 5th, y to the 15th. And example 12, a to the 3rd times a to the 3rd b squared to the 3rd power minus 5a to the 8th times a squared b to the 3rd squared. Be careful that the exponent outside the parentheses only goes to the things inside the parentheses that it's around. So it's a to the 3rd times a to the 9th, b to the 6th, minus 5a to the 8th times a to the 4th, b to the 6th. It's a to the 12th, b to the 6th, minus 5a to the 12th, b to the 6th, which is negative 4a to the 12th, b to the 6th. That's section 7.2, multiplying monomials.